Hello, I'm Citrus, and Gaahleri is a Chinese brand that is probably more known for their compressors and airbrushes, but they also have a line of metallic markers that they sent me to review for you guys. This is their 10 color set, which is, I believe, every color that they make currently. And right there you can see is unmistakably the back skirt of the Master Grade Sazabi Verka. Although, if it were me, I probably would have picked a kit that had a little bit more going on to really show off what these markers are capable of. So this is a list of colors that are included, but one of the big advantages of this product right now is the price. So this set, the 10 marker metallic set, is $20 on their website. And if you're looking at Gundam markers, normal colors are usually about $4 each, and the EX colors are $6 each. The best value that you can get for the EX colors is probably the 3 marker set for $11. That includes plated silver, white gold, and yellow gold, which, you know, is probably the 3 most common colors you're going to use. But no matter how you look at it, 10 markers for $20 is a pretty good price. And along with these, they also sent me a pair of their eraser markers. Bandai makes these too, but I don't really use them because I'm kind of scared of like the residual ink on the tips basically ruining the marker and kind of leaving stains wherever you try to use it again. So who knows? We'll see how these work as well. When we pop the top, you can see the instructions here. Follow these instructions. And as usual, shake it, depressurize the pen, let the ink flow out, and, you know, don't squeeze it so it doesn't like explode on you. And then cap it when you're done, and there's all the colors in there. Alright, so starting with just one marker, looking at the construction of it, it's pretty thin. I would say it's about the thickness of a real touch marker. You can see there. So maybe that means that you get a little bit less ink inside of each pen than compared to a Gundam marker. It's quite a difference. But it's hard to say exactly how full they are on the inside to really compare. But one practical concern with the size is this. So if you use a marker airbrush system, which I do occasionally, and I know some people hate these. I think they're all right actually, and I do enjoy using it. The problem with a thinner pen is that it doesn't really stay in here unless you have a spacer. Now, one interesting thing is that the cap is actually the correct size to be held in one of these. Now, the one I have is the one made by Mr. Hobby or GSI or however you want to call it. And a lot of the, shall we say, aftermarket marker systems are also sized up here to be the same. So for compatibility, Gaahleri, if you're watching this, it would be nice to offer a spacer or something so that the pens can fit into marker systems like this. I can't imagine it'd be very expensive to make these, and maybe, I don't know, just make it like a throw-in thing that you can get when you buy a set of markers. Okay, so as for the marker itself, you can see there this is a fine nib, kind of like the fine nib on some of the Bandai pens. You can see on the left here. So the tip seems to be about the same size. If we pull it out of the pen, that's what the whole nib looks like. I haven't started yet, so I can pull this one out as well. Oop. And you can see the shape is different. However, the diameter of this seems to be roughly the same as the diameter of the paper nibs that you can use for, well, better compatibility with the airbrush. I tend to like how these flow as well compared to the plastic nibs, so sometimes I just use it as it is. And yeah, I'm not sure if I take one out. Yeah, the paper nib fits in there just fine. So all of the Gaahleri markers come with a fine nib, whereas Gundam markers typically come with a chisel nib. Sometimes I like having a chisel nib because one edge of it is sharp, which helps it get into some places better than the fine point, which is not as sharp. But the fact that you can change the nib to something else, since the nib is at least a standard size, that's pretty convenient. Alright, so to show off how these colors work, I've got my scrap cardboard, which I used to get all the markers started, and a black and a white spoon so we can see the coverage. Alright, so let's put these colors in groups. Alright, so first we'll do the two dark colors down here. So that's zirconium black. This is dark iron. And the stainless steels would go here. Dark steel. The aluminum. Gunmetal. Dark gold. And this will be flashy gold. Red copper. This is scorched gold. Alright, and then we'll repeat this on the white spoon, starting with zirconium black. Then dark iron. Stainless steel. Dark steel. Aluminum. Gunmetal. Dark gold. Flashy gold. Red copper. And scorched gold. Alright, let's give these a few minutes to dry. And in the meantime, we can check out how well the eraser marker works. So this does have a chisel tip instead of a fine tip, very similar to the Gundam marker chisel tip. And it's just a spoon that I was testing with earlier. Okay, so I guess it works pretty well. I'm guessing this is basically like a very small tube of alcohol. But it's not super neat, obviously, because it's not going to pick up the ink. It just kind of loosens it up and suspends it. So I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do to really clean it up. I guess I just have to take a tissue and very carefully try to wipe the excess away without smearing. No. I'm not sure if the camera's picking up very well, but there's still a very faint amount of residue left over. So, yeah, the eraser marker worked about as well as I would have expected it to, which is not the best. I'm sure if you can work this into your process somehow in a way that's less clumsy than how I'm doing it now, because again, I never use products like these. If I make a mistake, what I typically do is just take the part and dunk it in some alcohol and then just wipe it all off and start over. Or I would, go in with a toothpick and basically just scratch off what I don't want. And that way all of the residue stays solid and it's much easier to get rid of with like a dusting brush or something like that. This is a little, I don't want to say clumsy, but it feels clumsy to me at least. And of course, now that I've used this once, you can see there's some residual silver left over on the tip of the eraser pen. Not great. Because there is a chance that it'll come off on whatever thing I'm trying to use this on next time, and that'll just make a mess that I'm trying to clean up an even bigger mess. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes since I painted these, and they are now pretty much all dry to the touch. You can see here, nothing is happening. If you can sort of look around the glare from my lamps, I think the results are pretty good. I deliberately went in sort of like a back and forth motion, since that's kind of like a very, I don't know, beginner way to color with markers. Now, obviously, you'd want to go in like one pass. But if the ink had any kind of self-leveling properties that kind of makes the streaks go away, that's one way you'd really be able to test it. And honestly, these colors look like they hide the streaks pretty well, for the most part. One issue is that I guess the colors on the caps don't really match the color that actually comes out. For example, the zirconium black and the dark iron, you can see that the cap looks nothing like the color, no matter what you're really comparing to. It is way darker than what's shown here. Same with the dark iron as well. I guess if you catch it in the light just right, but no, that's not very close at all. So yeah, either make your own swatches and label them, or, since the coverage is really good, what you could do is actually just color the tip of the cap with the ink itself. Like that. And you can see how much darker of a difference that is. That's basically something that I'm going to do with all of these afterwards, so that I don't make a mistake when I try to pick them up. That's one thing that Gundam markers do really well, which is that the cap is usually the color that actually comes out of the marker pretty spot on. And actually, if I even compare it here, I guess the color band at the bottom is closer to the color that comes out, but still not quite a precise match. And I know there are limits to printers and everything, but yeah, like here you can see the color on the band is definitely lighter and cooler than the color that came out of the pen for sure. Yeah, just something to be cognizant of. Let's see for the other colors. So this one is stainless steel, dark steel, and aluminum. That's a little bit better, but not by much. The band on the bottom is a little more similar, but definitely not the cap. Yeah, not on the black either. You can see dark steel. Nope, the dark steel left is way well, it's not. No, the color temperature is definitely different. You know, the aluminum cap is honestly doing the color a disservice because it actually looks like a very, well, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but like a very rich silver. It looks very metallic when it's actually painted, but the cap obviously looks like plastic. But the band on this one comes a lot closer than the other one so far. You can kind of see what I was doing with how I laid out the palette. I wanted to put all of the similar colors together, but you can see that judging by the, well, I made the arrangement based on the color of the caps, but you can see that the colors really are a little bit all over the place because of the color discrepancy. So this one's gunmetal right here. Yeah, cap is too warm. And then the band on the bottom is almost purple compared to the color that actually comes out. You know, I'm not making this up because you guys saw me show the color and put it on the spoon. The dark gold is almost what I think Gundam marker would call white gold. Yeah, it should definitely be more pale than the color on the tip. Not bad overall. So basically, I only have 2 complaints, which is that, first of all, the caps don't match the colors inside, and neither do the bands on the bottom, really. But the ink that does come out seems to perform really well. And the other thing, of course, is that they're too thin to be compatible with marker airbrushes. All easily fixable things. Maybe they'll take this into consideration and improve it for their next iteration of this product. And if they do, that would be great to see. So to really explore what these are capable of on an actual kit, I'll be using exclusively these markers on the Master Grade Ball, which has a very detailed inner frame. I'm going to try to use these markers to highlight. And of course, there are some places where I'll probably want to use solid colors, so I will use those. But for the metallics, I will only be using these Gaahleri markers. So I will come back with that in the next video. If you like what you see so far and you'd like to pick up a set of these markers for yourself, which again at $20, pretty good deal. You can use my link in the description or in the pinned comment, and that'll save you a little bit of money and I will earn a small commission. So if you'd like to support me, that is one way you can do that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.